Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Sharan. In the previous e-learning sessions, we have discussed about what we have discussed. So, we are discussed almost all the basic part of your denture-based resins. We completed polymers, chemistry of polymerization, and we jumped into history of denture-based resins, and even we discussed about composition of heat-cured resins, working time, what is polymer and monomer composition of heat-cured resins, and everything. Now in this e-learning session, we actually discuss what is the technique for heat-cured resins, or we call it as a processing. So you all know the basic technique is what? Compression molding technique. So in this class we will discuss in detail about this compression molding technique, right? So you know very well, I have been discussed a lot all these classes. You make primary impressions, primary cast, secondary impression, secondary cast, jar relations, drying stage. So all the hurdles you have passed away, right? So patient is satisfactory, you are satisfied. Now what is the last step? How you get the final denture into your hand? So after finishing your drying stage and to get the denture in your hand, the intermediate steps is nothing but your processing of denture, or we call it as a acrylization, right? So in this acrylization, it consists of flasking procedure, dewaxing procedure, packing under pressure, and curing. What is meant by flasking? The art of investing in a flask is called as a flasking. This flask consists of a metal case or tube which is used in a investing procedure. It is either made of metal or brass. It consists of 3 parts or 4 parts. If it is 3 parts, then it is 3-part flask. If it is 4 parts, or it is 4-part flask. Generally we use the 3-part flask. This 3-part flask consists of, one is lower compartment with the lower lid, you can see here, right? Other one is upper compartment, then upper lid. These are the 3 parts. That's why it is called as 3-part flask. Similarly, this is 4-part flask, right? This is generally not used in our preclinicals. Generally used is 3-part flask, right? Then there is 2 types of techniques: 3-port technique and 4-port technique, right? This 3-port technique and 4-port technique has been discussed when in the preclinical prosthodontics part, when we have been discussed about steps in fabrication of complete denture, right? So what is 3-port technique and what is 4-port technique? You list out the differences. We will discuss in the next class. I will ask about 3-port technique and 4-port technique, right? Then coming to actual compression molding technique. So when you start the compression molding technique, first the periphery of the flask should be level with the rim of the flask. That is, first you take the lower flask, right? Keep the dental plaster in it, then insert the flask into a lower compartment which is filled with the plaster. See that occlusal plane is parallel to the base of the flask. You can see in the first picture, right? Then there should be no tilting of the cast. If it is lower, retromolar pads, and if it is upper, tuberous teeth should be protected. Check the seating of the flask in the both upper member and the lower members. Then when it is you get the upper lid, the distance from the upper lid should be to the your occlusal plane of the cast. It should be almost 6 mm. You can see in the picture, right? So all these things you have to remember. Then after that, you have to think about the application of the separating media, when to apply the separating media. That is in general about the investing procedure, right? Then when to do your application of separating media. So when you finish your inserting your cast with seeing certain precautions, making your occlusal plane parallel to the flask, everything. Then after finishing all this investing, then you have to apply the separating media. Then separating media should be either cellulose lacquers, cellulose solution contain alginate compounds, calcium volate, soaps, sodium silicates, starches, etc. The most popular thing which we use in our dentistry is sodium alginate solution, that to water soluble alginate solution, right? So this water soluble sodium alginate solution interact with your calcium sulfate of the dental plaster, then it produces a insoluble calcium alginate films, right? Then you have to uh, apply the second compartment, then close with the upper lip, right? Then sodium alginate solution, it is, what is sodium alginate solution? It is water soluble sodium alginate solution. Composition consists of 2% sodium alginate in water, glycerin, alcohol, sodium phosphate and preservatives. What is setting reaction? Reacts with the calcium of the plaster or stone to form a thin film of the insoluble calcium alginate. What is then how we have to apply the sodium alginate solution? It is applied by using a brush, coating only on the plaster surfaces. One or two coats are applied. Remember, when you are applying your sodium alginate solution, it should not be applied on the teeth, because if it is applied, what will happen? Cross-linking may occur and it will cause the wear of your teeth, or it may cause the brittleness of your teeth. So all these things may be occur, right? Then what are the precautions to be taken? As I said, avoid coating on the teeth. Mold should not be warm or not hit. Continue to the film will break if the mold is streaming out. That means you should not be more warm, it should not be more hot, it should be mild. Waxes or oils remaining on the mold surface will interfere with the action of the separating media. So this when you do, one thing is you apply the separating medium during investing. Then next one is you do the dewaxing procedure, right? All the flask you tighten the clamp, then you keep it in the dewaxing procedure. Dewaxing temperature is nothing but your boiling temperature of the water. Then you remove it, then you all the do the dewaxing procedure. You eliminate all the wax residues and everything. If these wax residues are present, then it may interfere with your application of separating media. During investing, if it is applied onto the teeth, it may cause the cross linking. So right, okay. So all these things you have to keep in the mind, right? Then as I said, already said, upper compartment second mix is mixed, lid is closed, and flasks are tightened in the clamp with under certain pressure. Then what you do? Right? So this one is your investing. Investing is completed. Then, as I already said, you have to perform the dewaxing procedure. Then after perform the dewaxing procedure, right, after applying your separating media, then you have to perform one important procedure which decides your fate of your complete denture. That is nothing but your packing. Placement and adaptation of the denture based material within the mold cavity is termed as packing. Overpacking may lead to excessive thickness and malposition of prosthetic teeth, whereas underpacking may lead to noticeable denture base porosity. So trial packing is done to ensure proper packing of the resin mass into the mold. After the final closure of the flask, they should remain at room temperature for almost 30 to 60 minutes. It is called as bench curing. So this bench curing is a 2 marks question for you. How much the time for bench curing? 30 to 60 minutes. Right? Understood up till now? Simple thing you have to remember. First, you finish your trying procedures. You are satisfied, patient is satisfied. Then do the proper festooning, carving, and everything. Then demount your cast from the articulator, right? Before demounting, seal the denture faces with the cast, right? Then take the flasks, take the lower compartment, clean it properly, mix the plaster and pour into the lower compartment. Then insert the flask into the lower compartment, see that artificial surface is parallel, there should be no tilting of the cast. Then wait for the setting of the plaster. Then if after setting of the plaster, then clean it properly. All the base of the all the what you call periphery of the cast should be visible, right? Then apply the separating media. Then again keep the upper compartment, mix the second mix of the dental plaster, close it, keep it in the keep the upper lid, take all this armamentarium into the clamp, tighten it and go for the dewaxing procedure, right? Complete the dewaxing procedure under the boiling point of temperature. Then you loosen the clamp, take out the flask, do the wax elimination procedure, everything. Then clean it, and if it is in the mild warm condition, apply the separating media. Then the step comes is your packing. So you have to pack it. At which stage you have to pack? I have discussed all the different stages, right? The physical stages of the polymerization. Then in the dough stage you have to mix it. At the dough stage you have to adapt the denture-based material into the mold cavity. Then do the packing, right? Then after packing is finished, you have to keep it for the bench curing. So what we achieve by doing the bench curing? So when you do the bench curing, it permits the equalization of the pressure throughout the mold, allows more time for uniform dispersion of monomer throughout the mass of dough. If resin teeth are used, it provides a longer exposure of the resin teeth to the monomer, producing a better bond of the teeth with the base material, right? One, it permits the equalization of the pressure throughout the mold. It allows more time for uniform dispersion of monomer throughout the dough mass. And if resin teeth are used, it provides longer exposure of the resin teeth to the monomer so that it produces the better bonding. Then the next step is polymerization procedure, right? When heated above 60 degrees centigrade, these molecules of benzoyl peroxide decompose to yield the free radicals. That means it is starting the chemistry of polymerization. Then each free radicals rapidly reacts with an available monomer molecule to initiate polymerization. Then heat is required to cause decomposition of the benzoyl peroxide. This is nothing but your activation. Then decomposition of the benzoyl peroxide molecule yields free radicals that are responsible for the chain propagation, right? Then here temperature plays a very important role. We discuss some important points about your temperature rise. Because resin and dental stone are relatively poor thermal conductors, the heat of reaction cannot be dissipated. Therefore, the temperature of the resin rises well above the temperature of the investing stone and the surrounding water. It should be noted that temperature of resin not allowed to exceed the boiling point of the monomer, which produces significant effect on the physical characteristics of the processed resin. Right? Then about the curing cycle. There are three different curing cycles. One is processing in a constant temperature water bath at 74 degrees centigrade for 8 hours or longer with no terminal boiling point. Keep it at the temperature of 74 degrees centigrade for 8 hours, then do the curing. Other one is first you have to cure it under 74 degrees centigrade for 8 hours, then increase the temperature to 100 degrees centigrade for 1 hour. Then another one is 74 degrees centigrade for approximately 2 hours and increase the temperature for the 100 degrees centigrade for 1 hour. This is fast curing cycle, right? Then as I already said, what is the polymerization reaction, under which under when mixing, what is the volumetric shrinkage, what is the linear shrinkage. The accepted polymer to revenue ratio by volume is 3:1, right? Volumetric shrinkage will occur 6% and linear shrinkage will occur 0.5%. Polymerization of methyl methacrylate to polymethyl methacrylate leads 21% decrease in the volume of the material, which would create difficulties in denture-based fabrication and clinical use. So, in order to minimize these dimensional changes, resin manufacturers pre-polymerize a significant fraction of the denture-based resin. That's why in composition you can see in the powder part there is a pre-polymerized powder particles. Why they are using pre-polymerized particles is in order to prevent the dimensional changes, right? That's one of the important Viva question. Then you can see if too much monomer used and if too little monomer used. If too much monomer used, what happens? It causes greater curing or polymerization shrinkage. More time is needed to reach the packing consistency and porosity may occur in the denture. If not at all the polymer bead will be wetted by the monomer and the cured acrylic will be granular mass if that is too little monomer is used. Dough will be difficult to manage and it may not be fused into a continuous unit of plastic during processing. That is if too much monomer used or too little monomer is used. Right? So that is about your compression molding technique. So I will show some pictures. So this is your upper denture base, which is stitch setting is completed. The denture base is filled with the sealed to the cast, right? Then it is inserted into the lower compartment of the plug. See how it is inserted, how all the peripheries of the cast are clearly visible. Then how neatly surrounding part of your cast is there. See the plaster part, right? Then see, this is your second compartment. After application you are separating media. Then upper compartment is closed with your upper lid, right? This is nothing but this I have been discussed. This one is in your preclinical part. What will be the interactions between your separating media and your plaster or stone, right? Here you can see if water is permitted to diffuse from the mold surface into the denture-based resin, it may affect the polymerization rate as well as the optical and physical properties of the resultant denture base. If dissolved polymer of the free monomer is permitted to soak into the mold surface, portions of the investing medium may become fused to the denture base. These difficulties often produce compromises in the physical properties and aesthetic properties of your process denture base. Right? And this is how application of the separating media. Then as I already said, packing and downstage you have to pack, no excessive pressure is applied. See how they are packing. See this is the trial closure and this is a bench this is the application of the pressure, bench curing. Then after all the thing there is one more thing called as bench cooling. It is cooled slowly as rapid cooling may result in warpage because of differences in thermal contraction of the resin and investing stone. So bench cooling will be done for 30 minutes and subsequently immersed in cool water for 15 minutes. This is bench cooling. Bench cooling is different as well as bench curing is different. Lower curing temperature and prolonged curing time has effect on reducing the porosity of denture bases. Right? This is your compression molding technique. So once you go through your textbook, it is very simple, right? and all the things I think Dr. Kumar sir has been discussed about steps in the fabrication of the complete denture. In that, sir might have been discussed about three-pore technique and four-pore technique. So once you check it, the three-pore technique and four-pore technique. So what is the basic difference between the three-pore technique and four-pore technique? So at what stage you have to pack the denture base material, why you have to pack in the dough stage, what will happen in the dough stage, what will happen if you pack it in more than dough stage or less than in dough stage. So all these things we have discussed in the previous class and this class, right? So what are the curing cycles? What is first curing cycle? It should be done at the 74 degrees centigrade, and you have to heat it for 8 hours. Next one you have to do for the 74 degrees centigrade for 8 hours and raise the temperature for 100 degrees centigrade and heat for 1 hour. Next you have to heat for 74 degrees centigrade for 2 hours, then you heat for the 100 degrees centigrade for 1 hour. These are the different curing cycles, right? Then what is bench curing and what is bench cooling? What will the advantages of doing the bench curing? How much time you have to do the bench curing? How much time you have to do the bench cooling, right? So all these things are very very important in your this compression molding. This compression molding technique is an essay question for you. So next one is your injection molding technique, that is injection molded polymers. This in mid 90s Ivoclar introduced this system. So Ivoclar Denturebase resin. These are made of nylon or polycarbonate. It has to be heated and injected into the mold. Right? This equipment is very expensive. Right? So in the next class we will discuss about injection molding technique, cold cured resins, right? And if possible microwave technique, right? Right? So mostly in the next class you will complete your denture based resins, or it may take one more class. So these denture based resins I have discussed clearly in depth, almost 6 to 7 classes. So go through all the classes, read it from the Phillips textbook, then only you will understand, right? See you in the next Friday. Okay, thank you.